Let's recap a little Big 12 Media Days, guys. What do you say? Last week was a lot of fun. Got to hear from Ethan Downs, Dillon Gabriel, Marvin Mims, and Woody Washington, as well as Brent Venables. I want to start off with some Marvin Mims news, and he had some interesting things to say about why he stayed at Oklahoma. He was very much rumored to transfer once the season ended because of the whole Lincoln Riley drama, and didn't really feel like he was getting the attention he deserved on the offensive side of the ball. Well, he confirmed that during Big 12 Media Days, saying in talking about why he stayed at Oklahoma, and this is why, quote, Lebby didn't have to really talk much to me to get me to stay, especially with the offense he runs. You're talking about one of the top 3 offensive coordinators in the country statistically. He's just a great guy. So the Lebby connection was a massive indicator that for Marvin to stay. And that means a lot to me because that shows once again that Brent made the right hire. He is hiring guys that these kids can respond to and they can trust, because Marvin didn't really have any trust in the previous staff. And I think that's pretty well documented from what we see.
You can really tell. I mean, you could tell watching, right? We don't really have a guy that we're going to. At times it looks like it's Marvin. At times it looks like it's Jaden Hazelwood. It's really hard to tell. For some reason, it always actually is Drake Stoops. And and it's not like players don't notice that, right? There's a quote from Marvin where he literally just said, there wasn't as many targets as I was looking for, nowhere near it. It was kind of a letdown, but at the end of the day, I had to just keep battling through it. Man, if I'm Marvin Mims, I'm thinking I should be a Biletnikoff Award candidate. Yeah. I shouldn't be having to beg for targets on this team with a bunch of unproven receivers. I am proven. I should be built around. And I think you're going to see something a little bit different from Lebby's offense, which has produced first rounders in recent years. They're going to feature Marvin in a new kind of way, I think.
On the point where you were talking about like having a guy all last year, we didn't really know who the guy was. And then, yeah, it was Drake kind of most of the time. In the article as well, if you look back at Lebby's offense at UCF, they had 3 guys with like over 70 receptions. So going into this year, Mims knows even if he's maybe not number 1, he's a close second. And if he's not a close second, he's a close third. And so he's got confidence that, with this offense, he's going to be catching a lot of balls.
Matt?
Yeah, Mims he has to be the guy. He only had like a little over 30 catches last year. And that's just not enough. Not for a guy with his talent, his hands. Guys, we can just go back to the OU Texas game, that incredible sideline catch. That's all you need to know. He is the clear number 1 guy. I think Lebby will definitely emphasize that on the offensive end. Hopefully DG can get him the ball in different ways, but he's got to have more than 30 catches. I can't believe when I read that was the case for all last year. That is just ridiculous. So hopefully we can be more the clear-cut guy going forward.
Look, man, I think it has a lot to do with, and I don't want to harp on Caleb or give him a ton of crap, but he was a true freshman quarterback, and it's well documented. He didn't really know how to read some zone defenses. And when you're a quarterback that young, you make the safe throws. And let's be real, Marvin, they send him downfield. He wasn't a safe throw most of the time. He's a guy who's an electric guy. We saw it at the OU Texas game with that throw down the middle of the field by Caleb. Still going to be one of the greatest plays of my lifetime. I'll remember it forever. But that's the kind of guy that Marvin is. And I think in this new Lebby system, we're going to see a lot more of that. And I think with an experienced quarterback like DG, we're going to see a lot more shots taken at Marvin, because that's what this offense has traditionally been. You look at guys like D.D. Westbrook, you look at C.D. Lamb, you look at Hollywood Brown, that this team, this offense is built around guys who can make splash plays like that. And Lebby has preached that before. He said it in press conferences that they want to be a big play offense. And I think Marvin's going to be a big part of that. We'll move on now to some Marvin again, talking about the difference between Brent Venables and Lincoln Riley practices. He had a quote that we thought was interesting. Quote, "We only have so much meeting time that dang it, Mark's cursor was right over the quote. I couldn't read it. It's not your fault. Don't worry about it. It's funny. we only have so much meeting time that we can work with the coaches. So Dillon's calling people up to his house, doing all types of stuff. We had a little retreat with the offense. We were going over the plays. Dillon knows it like the back of his hand. He's run the offense for 2 years. He knows exactly what he's doing and he's comfortable with it. So that goes back to what we heard about Dillon basically being a coach on the field and another offensive coordinator. And Josh mentioned that last week in our interview, and Dillon and Brent and Marvin again mentioned it at Big 12 Media Days. Thought that was interesting. Anybody else read that article, find anything interesting from that?
Yeah, I took away from a completely different article or a different quote, where Marvin said there's one specific difference that, stuck out to him. And he goes, quote, definitely physicality. The things we do in practice are way more physical than usual. That's probably the biggest adjustment to me. Just the way that we practice, running on and off the field, everything that we do has to be elite. He's not going to settle for anything less, unquote. When you hear about the way OU alumni would come back and see the YMCA vibes in the weight rooms where guys are just, lifting as they want, whatever, no big deal. And you compare that to what Marvin is saying here, I feel like a broken record. We're talking about it every single week, but we're going to be seeing differently developed dudes out of this regime than what we're used to, I think.
Listen, I appreciate you bringing up the interview. If you guys hasn't listened to Mark and Mason's interview with Josh Calloway last week, great insight. Obviously, it was right before Big 12 Media Day, but pretty much everything you guys talked about was hit on during it. And I just keep coming back to what you guys talked about, that this staff has so much confidence in DG that they invited him to Big 12 Media Day, where we haven't had a quarterback since Baker Mayfield go down there. And I think that just shows the faith, his leadership, what he's capable of to lead this team. And it really showed during Big 12 Media Day. He's just so well-spoken. He's just so mature. And, he's just been there before. So I'm really excited to see this team rally around him and all the hype around him. I just hope he can deliver.